I've done this in both 2021 and 2022 and failed epically. But since I do not learn from my mistakes, I'm doing it again today. Today we are discussing the 22 books I would like to read in 2022. Hopefully I've learned a little bit from my previous challenges. I think on both of them I went slightly idealistic of what I would like to read in the year. And this year I am trying to make the books very realistic, like books that I actually plan on reading very soon and books that I am very excited about and prioritizing right now. Hopefully that means I will actually get through most of this list. The other thing I'm going to do is refer back to this list, so that way if I'm halfway through the year, I can do a mid-year check-in and see if I'm actually accomplishing my goals or not. With that, let's get to the 23 books I'm planning on reading in 2023. The first 3 books I plan on reading is the next 3 books in the Game of Thrones, or no, the Song of Ice and Fire series. So I'm reading through A Song of Ice and Fire right now. I'm really enjoying it, and I plan on reading all the published books in A Song of Ice and Fire. So the next books I have to read are A Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows, and A Dance with Dragons. I plan on reading these very early in 2023. The next books I would like to read are the 3rd arc in the Wings of Fire series. The Wings of Fire books are a middle grade series with dragon main characters, and the dragons have been locked in a decades-long war, and there's this prophecy that these particular dragons that are going to hatch are going to stop the war. So this peace group steals the dragon eggs and then tries to manipulate them to their own ends. It's a very fascinating book. I really enjoy it. I think it's one that you can enjoy as an adult, even though they're middle grade books. I really enjoyed the first arc. The second arc I liked, wasn't super happy with the resolution, but I'm hoping I enjoy the 3rd arc just as much or more. I also plan on reading the 2 spin-off books. So there's Dragon Slayer and Darkstalker. These are both characters that are mentioned in the books, but are like from history, and they're spin-off books chronicling those events. So I do plan on reading those as well, which gets us to 10 books, because the second arc is The Lost Continent, The Hive Queen, The Poison Jungle, The Dangerous Gift, and Flames of Hope. So 5 plus 3 plus 2, we're at 10 now. The next one I would like to read is a Robin Hobb book. I'm putting this here as a Robin Hobb book because last year I said I want to finish The Realm of the Elderlings, so I want to count all of the books besides Farseer and Lifeship Traders, and the only books I read this year were Farseer and Lifeship Traders, so I couldn't count any of those as like accomplished goals. So this year I'm just doing a Robin Hobb book. I would like to continue probably the next trilogy, starting with Fool's Errand. I need to read the Tawny Man trilogy next, but if I don't get to it and I just end up rereading Lifeship or Farseer, I can still count it. The next book I would like to read is Age of Assassins. Either Age of Assassins or Bone Ships. I would like to read a R.J. Barker book. I've heard about these books and they sound right up my alley, and I want to get to them this next year. Next 2 books on my list are books 2 and 3 in the Misewa saga. They are The Great Bear and The Stone Child. I read The Barren Grounds this year, which is the first book in this series, and loved it. It is a middle grade portal fantasy. It is about these 2 indigenous children who are in the foster care system and are away from their tribe, and they find a portal into a world with characters from the legends of their tribe. I listened to the entire audiobook in one day because I was so drawn in to this story. I think the audiobook's fantastic, and I plan on reading the next 2 books very soon. Next, I would like to read a T. Kingfisher book. I read A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking in 2022, and it is one of my top books in 2022. I loved this book. So I want to check out more of T. Kingfisher's books. Now, T. Kingfisher doesn't always write the same genre, so I know I'm not interested in What Moves the Dark. It is called What Moves the Dark, right? What Moves the Dead. I know I'm not interested in reading What Moves the Dead, but I am interested in Steelheart and Nettle and Bone. So I would like to read at least one of those in 2023. I'm probably not going to include that. I am planning on continuing the Legacy of the Force books. This is the Star Wars Legends books. I read the sequel series to Legacy of the Force, and now I'm going back and reading Legacy of the Force. I have read the first 2 books. I really enjoyed the first book. The second book was just okay, but I am planning on continuing the series, so I'm planning on at least reading the 3rd book in Legacy of the Force. Next book I would like to read is The Golden Compass, and probably this entire series, and I think there's a spin-off series. It's one that I never read growing up, but it is one that I continually hear mentioned, and I'm very curious about it, so I want to try reading it. Next one is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I have not read The Poppy War. I don't think I'm going to read The Poppy War, but I'm very interested in Babel. As far as I know, it is about exchange students, and they deal with translation, or there might be magic that deals with language and translation, and there are questions about whether you can translate things or how things should be translated and all of that. I am interested in languages and linguistics, so this book sounds right up my alley. I'm super excited to try reading this one in 2023. So we are now at book number 19 that I plan on reading in 2023. This is a sequel novella to Sorcerer of Thorns. This one is called The Mysteries of Thorn Manor. I read Sorcery of Thorns? I read Sorcery and Thorns. I don't know what that book's called. I read Sorcery of Thorns over a year ago now, and I love the characters and I love the setting, but I wasn't a fan of the plot. There were a lot of plot conveniences, and I just didn't think it worked out in a satisfying way. I don't even know if satisfying is the word I want to use here, because I didn't mind the ending. I just didn't care for the climactic battle scene or how we got there, because it didn't seem realistic. But it's still a book that I think about more than a year later. Like, it's not one that I've forgotten and gone, I didn't care for that, moving on. It's like still one that I think about these characters in this world. So I am planning on reading the sequel novella. And at book number 20 on my list is The Great Book of Amber. Actually, I don't plan on reading the entire thing, although I might. The first book in this series is called The 9 Princes in Amber, and this is all 10 books in the series. And it's only 1,200 pages. So the first book is only 119 pages. I can read at least 119 pages of the series and see if it's for me and if I want to continue it. So I am reading, what is it called again? 9 Princes in Amber, the first book, and The Great Book of Amber in 2023. And coming in at book 21 is Raybearer. This is one I actually started this year. I was listening to the audiobook, which is fantastic, by the way, and I didn't have time to finish it before it returned itself to the library, and then I didn't check it out again. But this is a completed duology. Both books are out. I can binge read them. I need to get back to this book and read it in 2023. The next book is The Last Quintista. This is about a family, a group of people, something who are fleeing Earth because Earth isn't inhabitable, and they're going to like freeze people while they transport them to another habitable place. And there's people who are like storytellers who are going to be tasked with like remembering the stories of the people and where they came from. It sounds really interesting. I'm excited to read it. And coming in at number 23, last but not least, I want to read Code Talker by Joseph Brujak. I actually read the memoir of Chester Nez, the real life Code Talker, this year, and I would like to see Joseph Brujak's fictional interpretation of this story. It's something that I find really fascinating and want to read more on this subject. So there you have it, the 23 books I'm planning to read in 2023. If you made it this far in the video, leave an emoji of a stack of books and let me know if you've read any of these and what your reading goals are for 2023.